Welcome in the session of Rose Project, subject biology. Myself, Yadav TA from Sadhguru Gadge Maharaj College, Karad. We are going to study the topic organisms and population, lecture number 2. See here, we have to study the topic organisms and population. Let us see here organisms. What is meant by organisms? Organisms form a basic unit of study in ecology. Then species, organisms with similar features and the potential to interbreed among themselves and produce fertile offspring constitute a species. Population is a group of individuals of the same species inhabiting in a given area. Biological community. It is constituted by an assemblage of the population of all different species that live in an area and interact with each other. A biotic community has a distinct species composition and structure. Then ecosystem. It is a biological system in a nature and composed of biotic community integrated with its physical environment through the exchange of energy and recycling of the nutrients. Abiotic factors. The temperature affects the kinetics of enzyme, then BMR, basic metabolic rate, and other physiological actions in organisms. On the basis of temperature, organisms are classified into two groups or categories. First, that is euthermal, a few organisms which can tolerate wide range of temperature are called euthermal organisms. Second, stenothermal, many organisms which can tolerate narrow range of temperature are called stenothermal organisms. Then ectotherms, then poikilotherms or will be known as an cold-blooded animals, then endotherms and warm-blooded animals. Then homeostasis, the process by which organisms maintain constant internal environment with respect to outside environment. Temperature affects a number of morphological characters in various organisms. First, Bergman rule. The birds and mammals attain greater body size in a colder region and lesser in warmer regions. Then second, Allen's rule in that animals from colder climate generally have shorter ears and limbs to minimize heat loss. The next, Jordan's rule. Fishes occurring in a cold water have more vertebrae than those found in a warmer water. Then Glogger rule in that animals of tropic region are more darker in a color and heavily pigmented than those in a Arctic region. Then Wrench rule in that birds of colder region have narrow wings than those found in a warmer region. Second abiotic factor, that is the soil. Nature and properties of soil depends on climate, weathering process. The process of soil formation by breaking of rocks is called as pedogenesis. The physical and chemical properties of soil determines the type of plants that can grow in a particular habitat. The characteristics of The bottom sediments of aquatic environment determine type of benthic animals that can live there. On the basis of agents involved in the formation of soil, it is of following types. Alluvial soil make through water, colluvial soil make through gravity, glacial soil make through ice, and aeolian make through wind. Then soil organic matter. The dead organic matter present in the soil is called humus, which is formed by the decomposition of plants and animal remains. The freshly fallen plants and animal material is called detritus or litter. Then partially decomposed litter is called duff, and fully decomposed litter is called humus. Then next abiotic factor, that is a light. It is a complex physical environmental factor. Light is important abiotic factor because the autotrophs prepares its food by photosynthesis. Then zoophytes, small herbaceous plants and some shrubs live under the canopy. Forest trees are adapted to photosynthesis under very low light intensities. Then animals use the seasonal variations in the light intensity and photoperiod as a cues for timing of forage, reproduction, and migration. The distribution of red, green, brown algae at a different depth of water depends on light. Red algae can live in a very deep water. The next abiotic factor, that is a water. The important factors influences the life of organism. The productivity and distribution depends on water. For aquatic organisms, chemical composition, pH, salinity, and temperature of water are important. In that, euryhaline, the organisms which can tolerate wide range of salinity are called as euryhaline organisms. Then stenohaline, the organisms which can tolerate narrow range of salinity, that is a stenohaline organism. We see here the biomes. The large ecosystem are called biomes. Each biome is identified by its climax community. Here, the altitude and latitude determine the boundary of biomes. Then annual variations in the intensity and duration of temperature and precipitations are responsible for the formation of major biomes. Here, the look at this diagrammatic representation here. This is a graphical representation. Then on x-axis the mean annual precipitation in a centimeters, and on a y-axis there is a mean annual temperature in a Celsius. Then there is a some of the biomes here. Then desert, then grassland, tropical forest, temperate forest, coniferous forest, Arctic, and alpine tundra. Then here the what is mean by the biomes, the complexes of community that extend over a large geographical area. It is characterized by dominant vegetation. It also contains to that of the desert, grassland, coniferous forest, then Arctic, alpine tundra, then temperate forest, tropical forest, etc. Then here we look at these pictures. We see here the major biomes of India. In that first picture, that is a tropical rainforest. Then second picture, that is a deciduous forest which loses their leaves seasonally. And here this is a desert in a third picture, and fourth one there is a sea coast here. Then on a planet Earth, life exists not only in a favorable habitats, even in extreme and harsh habitats. Desert, rain-soaked Meghalaya forest, deep ocean, polar regions, high mountain tops, thermal springs, etc. Even our intestine is a unique habitat for hundreds of species of microbes. Then variations in the intensity and duration of temperature with the annual variations in a precipitation. All variations together form major biomes, such as, first look at this picture. First, the desert biome, then second, rainforest biome, and this is the tundra. The precipitation includes both rain and snow. Here we look at this presentation. Here there is a biomes, locations, and their vegetations. In a tundra region, location tundra region, vegetation lichen, moss, grass. Then in a northern coniferous, the location south to tundra, the vegetation pine, deodar, cypress. Then temperate deciduous, location centrally located, vegetation oak. Then tropical deciduous, location plains and low hilly areas. Then vegetation sal, teak, tendu. Then next, tropical rainforest, location equatorial region. Then vegetation hopia. Then Mediterranean forest, location that is Pacific coast of America and Australia. Then vegetation small trees and shrubs. Then next, tropical savanna, location South America and South Australia. Then vegetation coarse grasses, large trees. Then next, grassland. Then next, desert, location Asia, North Africa. Then responses to abiotic components, that is the conformers, regulators, partial regulators, migrate and suspended as a hibernation, estivation and diapause. Response to abiotic factors as a regulators. Some organisms are able to maintain homeostasis by physiological means, which ensures body temperature, constant osmotic concentration. All birds and mammals, a very few lower vertebrates and invertebrates are regulators. For example, human beings maintain their body temperature by sweating in a summer and shivering during winter season. Plants do not have such a mechanism to maintain internal temperature. The next, conformers. Majority of animals and nearly all plants cannot maintain a constant internal environment. The body temperature changes with the ambient temperature. In aquatic animals, the osmotic concentration of the body fluids changes with that of the ambient water and osmotic concentration. Some species have evolved the ability to regulate, but only over a limited range of environmental conditions beyond which they simply conform. The thermoregulation is an energy expensive process. Heat loss or gain is a function of surface area. Therefore, small animals are not found in polar regions. Then partial regulators. Hairs on the body acts as heat insulator. In a smaller organisms, the surface area is large as compared to volume. But in a large animals, this ratio is small. So the larger animals effectively control the body temperature. Then next, migration. The organisms can move away temporarily from the stressful habitat to a more comfortable area and return when stressful period is over. Then next, suspension. Organisms that cannot migrate suspend their metabolic functions during stressful period. It is called suspension. Example, hibernation, estivation, diapause. Hibernation, what is meant by the hibernation? It is a process by which animals avoid the stress and become inactive during winter. Example, polar bear, frog, lizards. Then what is meant by the estivation? Estivation is a process by which the animals avoid the stress and summer related problems and become inactive during summer. Example, snails and fishes. Then next, what is meant by the diapause? It is a stage of suspended development seen in many zooplanktons to avoid unfavorable conditions. Now we have to study the next concept as we know about them, population attributes. In that we study here natality, that is birth rate, then mortality, death rate, then density, then sex ratio. The next, population attributes. Population is a group of individuals living in a particular geographical area. A population has certain attributes that an individual does not possess. Important characteristic of population, that is population density. Population density of a species is the number of individuals of a species per unit area or volume. Population density is equal to number of individual in a region, that is n, divided by number of unit area in a region s. Birth rate or natality rate. It is expressed as the number of births per thousand individuals of population per year. Then next, death rate or mortality rate. It is expressed as the number of death per thousand individuals of population during a given period. Then sex ratio. It is expressed as the number of females per 1000 males of a population in a given time. Here, look at this picture. This is an age pyramid. Then we have to study the age pyramid. A population at any given time is composed of individuals of different age groups. As we know, the pre-reproductive 0 to 14 years, then reproductive 14 to 44 years, then post-reproductive 45 to 45 and above. If the age distribution is plotted for the population, the resulting structure is called age pyramid. For human population, the age pyramid show the age distribution of male and females in a combined diagram. The shape of pyramid reflects the growth status of population, that is expanding, growing population, stable population and declining population. Here we see the expanding, which is the most common, and this is a stable population, ideal condition, and here declining population here. And we see the pre-reproductive age group, reproductive and post-reproductive here. Then population growth. The size of population keeps changes with the time depending on the factors like food available, weather, predator pressure, competition, etc. The density of population in a given habitat during a given period changes due to the four basics as a natality, capital N, mortality, capital M, immigration, capital I, and immigration, capital E. What is mean by immigration? The number of individuals of the same species that have come into the habitat from elsewhere during a given period. What is the meaning of immigration? Number of individuals of the population who have left the habitat and gone elsewhere during a given time period. That is known as immigration. Then natality and immigration contribute to increase in the size and density of population. Then mortality and immigration contribute to decrease in population. If n, capital N is the population density at time t, then the equation for the population growth is here as the nt is equal to n0 plus b plus I minus d plus e. Here nt, whereas nt is equal to population density at time t, then n0 population in a beginning, then b birth rate, capital I immigration, capital D death rate, capital E immigration. Now let us see here the population growth models. There is a two growth models as we know about them, the exponential growth model and logistic growth model. We see here the exponential growth. There is a some of the characteristic features of this growth model here. J-shaped curve is obtained when resources are limiting the growth. Any species growth exponentially under unlimited resources condition can reach enormous population densities in a short time. Then growth is not so realistic. Here we can study their equation, that is nt is equal to n0 ERT, whereas nt means population density after time t, then n0 population density at time 0, and r means intrinsic rate of natural increase, then e means the base of natural logarithms. Here there is a equation of exponential growth model. Here second, that is a logistic growth model, a population growing in a habitat with a limited resources as a food and space shows logistic growth. Verwold's pearl logistic growth is described by the following equation. We see the equation of logistic growth. dn by dt is equal to small r capital N k minus n by k, whereas n is equal to population density at time t, small r intrinsic rate of natural increase, k means carrying capacity, then logistic growth having its characters features as we know them, sigmoid curve is obtained when resources are limiting the growth. Then resources for growth for most animal populations are finite and become limiting. The logistic growth model is a more realistic one. We see here there is a two graphs are there. as a first graph, that is a exponential growth, and second, that is logistic growth. First exponential growth, that is unrestricted, and logistic growth restricted. Here we see the J-shaped curve which is obtained in that graph. The growth rate of the population accelerates, and here there is a graph plotted against time against population size. The sigmoid curve is the obtained here. Here we look that blue line, the rate which will also accelerates, and at the point the rate is maximum growth, and here the rate which will also slows down, and this is the finding to carrying capacity of an environment in a logistic growth. Here the question which arising to that of the point as which one model is realistic, J-shaped or S-shaped, and why? Answer, that is S-shaped is more realistic. The no population growth can sustain exponential growth indefinitely, as there will be competition for the basic needs. Population, what about the population? Population means the group of organisms of same type and potential to interbreed among themselves and produce fertile progenies. I hope all points are beneficial to you. Then thank you.